I want to start all this by telling you that I'm so grateful for Kara's and Paul's help about my daughter. It really means a lot to me and my family that Kara and Paul want justice for my daughter and for other victims of Torben's sect, TLR. The 7th of April 2017 turned my life around and my daughter's life around. I got called by the police who told me that my daughter was found in front of the Jesus Hotel in Aalborg, screaming and yelling. Screaming so much that a lady had called the police. She couldn't find home. The police helped her to get on a train, and me and my son in Copenhagen, we thought that she couldn't find out how to get on a train. We didn't know what happened. I found out the next days. Ida was traumatized. She was so mental, spoiled. And she told me that Torben Søndergaard had raped her, and there was several others around her. He had laid upon her. Ida and I went to we told the police, of course. Ida was so scared and so traumatized that she couldn't tell the police. Ida has a disability, mental, and it was hard for her to explain what had happened. She went into a psychosis the next days. But that day, the second day, we went to the raping center of Copenhagen, and they saw her and said, because it was the next day and there were 24 hours, they couldn't prove anything, but it could have happened, or that is reported. I talked to the police in Aalborg many times because they saw her and they knew that something suspicious was going on about Torben's place. I didn't know anything about Torben at that time, before, after the 7th of April. Ida had been at a little Bible school because she believed in God and tried to find out how to help her to get away with her disabilities. And that place near Copenhagen where we lived had threats to Torben Søndergaard, which I found out too late, all too late. It is so that a week before this happened, I was on a Spanish island with my daughter, and we had a nice time. We drove around in a rented car and saw the mountains and had a happy time. And 1 week later, my daughter, I couldn't recognize her. I called my doctor. She couldn't recognize her either. We couldn't get in contact with her. We had to have psychiatrists to see her, and they said to me that this was a very severe trauma, and they would wait a little to see if she could come by herself before they would start giving her medicine. So, but after 6 or 8 weeks, she got medicine. Ida told she was sitting introverted in anger, screaming, "I'm not your child, Torben. I'm not your child, Torben." She slept 18 hours a day. I couldn't get in contact with her. It was terrible. I was in shock to see my daughter. Before this, and when it happened, she lived in her own apartment, but she was not able to do that anymore. She had to move home to me, and she lived there for the next year. I was, of course, so angry about what Torben had done, and but because of Ida's justifying she was too sick, the police couldn't interrogate her at that moment. But I talked to the police, and Ida told me in pieces what had happened. So I found out. Ida showed me their faces on Facebook. She told me they had deleted the contacts on her iPhone, but she could show me on Facebook. Ida can read and write, so I could see them. And I still remember who they are. Yeah, I can tell you that here, 5 years after, Ida is still in pain. She is recovering, but has many flashbacks. She's still angry. Sometimes she's still on medicine because after those 6-8 weeks, she began to have medicine, and she's still on that. It has been so terrible for me and for my family to see what he had done to her. All of my family can see that this was a shock that happened on the 7th of April. And we're not in doubt that something very severe happened up there. Ida screamed, yelled, doesn't look like herself from that day. Didn't look like herself. So I can say, watch out for that man. I really hope justice for him, for all the victims, and justice for Ida, my daughter, and for all the other victims. Yes, that there's a lot of things I could put on, but for now, I think that's it. Hope the best for all you victims, and hope for justice for my daughter. My family, we are still in pain because of that. And Torben, I don't know how you can do it. I don't know how you, do you have a brain? What do you use it for? Do you think you're more than everybody else? Lene, your wife, she has said something terrible to my daughter too. My daughter told me, she said she was a fat cow. She had said to my daughter, they have really been so cruel. Yeah. I want him to stop, not to make other victims. He must be stopped. He must be stopped. And I will help if I can. To be in the situation where you can't help your daughter because you're so traumatized. I don't know if you can imagine how powerlessness, how you feel not to be able to help because she's so much in pain. But I'm beside her, of course, but I can't take the pain from her, Torben, because you did so much shit to her. And there are several others, guys too. Yeah, that's what I think I'll stop here. Yeah, thank you for listening.